Right now isn't happening right now. This sentence you're reading, this moment you think you're experiencing, this now that feels so immediate and real, it's an illusion. There is no right now in any meaningful sense. There never has been. There never will be. Time doesn't flow, it doesn't pass. It doesn't move from past to present to future like a river carrying you along. That sensation, that fundamental experience of temporal passage that defines every moment of your consciousness, it's completely wrong. A trick your brain plays because the truth is too alien for human intuition to grasp. The universe doesn't have a now. Reality doesn't unfold moment by moment. What you call the present moment is just one arbitrary slice of a four-dimensional structure where past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, eternally, with equal reality. You are not moving through time. Time is not moving through you. You are a static pattern frozen in a timeless block, experiencing the illusion of motion, because consciousness can only access one thin cross-section of reality at a time. Let me show you how deep this goes, and why it should completely shatter everything you think you know about existence, causation, and the nature of reality itself. Start with something simple that everyone accepts. When you throw a ball, it follows a predictable path through space. You can map that path, measure it, predict where the ball will be at any given moment. The ball's trajectory through space seems obvious, natural, uncontroversial. But here's what should disturb you. The ball's path through time is equally real, equally mappable, equally predictable. Just as the ball occupies different positions in space during its flight, it occupies different positions in time. And just as all the spatial positions are equally real, the ball doesn't cease to exist at previous locations when it moves. All the temporal positions are equally real too. The ball at launch, the ball at peak height, the ball at impact. These aren't successive moments where the ball becomes different things. They're different cross-sections of a single eternal, four-dimensional object extended through space-time. The ball's entire trajectory from throw to catch exists as a unified structure outside of time. You think the ball moves because your consciousness can only perceive one three-dimensional slice of this four-dimensional reality at a time. But the ball isn't moving any more than a road moves when you drive along it. You're the one changing position, sampling different cross-sections of a static, eternal structure. This isn't speculation. This is what Einstein's relativity forces us to accept. And once you understand the implications, it becomes clear that everything you think you know about time, causation, change, and existence is fundamentally wrong. Here's the key insight that destroys the common-sense view of time. Simultaneity is relative. Two events that are simultaneous for one observer are not simultaneous for another observer moving at a different velocity. There is no universal now that applies everywhere in the universe. Think about what this means. Right now, as you read this, you naturally assume that somewhere else in the universe, other events are happening at the same time. But according to relativity, observers moving at different speeds relative to you would disagree about which distant events are simultaneous with your reading of these words. If simultaneity is relative, if different observers disagree about which events are happening now, then there's no objective present moment. The now you're experiencing is not a universal feature of reality. It's a subjective artifact of your particular reference frame. But this creates a paradox that should break your brain. If there's no universal present moment, then when do things happen? When are events real? At what point does the future become the past? The answer is going to seem insane. Everything happens all at once, eternally. Every event that has ever occurred or will ever occur exists simultaneously in what physicists call the block universe, or eternalism. Your birth, your death, every thought you've ever had, every decision you'll ever make, all of it exists right now, frozen in the eternal structure of space-time. The Big Bang isn't something that happened 13.8 billion years ago. It's happening right now, just as much as this moment is happening. Your 5th birthday isn't a memory of something that used to exist. It exists just as much now as it did then. The moment of your death isn't a future event approaching, it already exists, waiting for your consciousness to reach that particular cross-section of your world line. From outside space-time, if such a perspective were possible, the entire history of the universe would be visible at once. Every moment, every event, every conscious experience laid out like frames in an infinite film strip. Nothing changes because everything already exists. Nothing becomes because everything already is. You are not a person experiencing a sequence of moments. You are an eternal four-dimensional structure extending from your birth to your death, with different cross-sections corresponding to different stages of your life. The you reading these words is just one thin slice of this four-dimensional being. Past you and future you are equally real, equally present in the eternal now of the block universe. But But here's where it gets truly disturbing. If past, present, and future all exist eternally, then what happens to cause and effect? How can earlier events cause later events if all events exist simultaneously? The answer reveals something terrifying about the nature of reality. Causation is an illusion created by the structure of the block universe. Events don't cause other events, they're simply correlated in specific patterns throughout the eternal structure. What you interpret as cause and effect is just the static arrangement of events in four-dimensional space-time. The match doesn't cause the fire. The collision doesn't cause the damage. Your decision doesn't cause your action. These are all just different parts of unchanging patterns frozen in the block universe. The temporal ordering makes it seem like earlier events influence later ones. But that's just how consciousness samples the eternal structure. From the God's eye view outside of time, your entire life is a fixed path through space-time. Every choice you think you make, every spontaneous decision, every moment of free will, all predetermined not by prior causes but by the eternal structure of reality itself. You're not choosing your future, you're discovering a future that already exists. This should completely destroy your sense of agency and control. If your entire life already exists as a static pattern in space-time, if every decision you'll ever make is already made, then what's the point of choice, effort, responsibility? The answer is even more unsettling. The point is, whatever point your eternal pattern contains, the experience of making choices, the feeling of controlling your destiny, the sense of responsibility for your actions, these are all part of the static pattern. They don't change anything because there's nothing to change. They're just features of the eternal structure, as fixed and unchangeable as the shape of a mountain. You think you're deciding what to do next, but that decision already exists in the block universe. You're not creating the future through your choices. You're experiencing the inevitable unfolding of a future that has always existed. But here's the twist that should make you question the nature of consciousness itself. If everything exists eternally in the block universe, then what creates the illusion of temporal flow? Why do you experience time as moving if time is actually static? The answer forces us to confront the deepest mystery of consciousness. Your subjective experience of temporal passage isn't something that happens in time, it's something that emerges from the structure of the timeless block universe. The feeling of now, moving from past to future, is created by the way your consciousness is embedded in the eternal structure. Think of it this way. Imagine a film strip containing every frame of a movie. Each frame exists simultaneously on the strip. There's no temporal sequence, no movement, no change. But when you play the film, projecting one frame at a time, the illusion of motion emerges. Characters seem to move, plot seems to unfold, time seems to pass. Your consciousness is like that projector, sampling one cross-section of the eternal block universe at a time. The sampling process creates the illusion of temporal flow, of present moments moving into the past as future moments become present. But this is just an artifact of consciousness, not a feature of time itself. The movie frames don't actually move when you project them, they remain static on the film strip. Similarly, events don't actually unfold in time, they remain eternal in the block universe. The sense of temporal passage is purely a result of how consciousness accesses the timeless structure of reality. But this raises the most disturbing question of all. What is consciousness if not something that exists in time? If your thoughts, memories, and experiences are all eternal features of the block universe, then what part of you experiences the illusion of temporal flow? Here's where the problem becomes truly existential. Consciousness might not exist in any conventional sense at all. What you call your consciousness might just be different static patterns in the block universe, each containing the illusion of being a conscious moment. There's no continuous stream of awareness moving through time, just discrete conscious states scattered throughout the eternal structure. The you that existed 5 minutes ago isn't connected to the you reading this sentence except through patterns in the static block universe. There's no flowing stream of consciousness linking these moments, just separate static experiences, each containing false memories of continuity. You're not one conscious being experiencing temporal passage, you're countless static conscious moments, each frozen in eternity, each containing the complete illusion of being part of an ongoing experience. The sense of temporal continuity, of being the same person across time, is just information encoded in each static conscious moment. Every thought you've ever had exists eternally in the block universe. But they're not connected by flowing time, they're just scattered throughout the four-dimensional structure. The feeling that your thoughts follow in sequence is an illusion created by the pattern of information in each static moment. This completely destroys the usual picture of consciousness as a continuous stream. Instead of one flowing consciousness experiencing many moments, there are many static conscious moments, each containing the illusion of being part of one flowing consciousness. You are not experiencing this moment. This moment is you. You don't have memories of the past. You are a pattern that includes memory information. You don't anticipate the future. You are a structure that contains anticipation patterns. And every other moment of your life exists with equal reality throughout the eternal block universe. The child you were, the adult you'll become, every intervening thought and experience, all frozen simultaneously in the timeless structure of reality. But here's the final, most unsettling implication. If all moments exist eternally, if past and future are equally real, if temporal flow is an illusion, then what happens when you die? Death isn't the end of your existence. It's just one cross-section of your eternal four-dimensional structure. The moment of your death exists right now in the block universe, just as much as this moment does. But so does every moment of your life before death. Death doesn't erase those moments. They remain eternal, frozen in the unchanging structure of space-time. In a very real sense, you are immortal. Not because you survived death, but because every moment of your existence is eternal. The you reading these words will exist forever in the block universe, just as much as any future you or past you. Death is just the boundary of your four-dimensional structure, not the termination of your reality. But this immortality comes at a terrible price, the loss of everything that seems to make existence meaningful. If all moments exist eternally, if nothing really changes, if time doesn't pass, then what's the point of experience, growth, love, achievement? The answer might be the most disturbing of all. There is no point beyond what eternally exists in the pattern itself. The meaning you feel, the goals you pursue, the love you experience, these aren't things that give purpose to existence. They are existence, frozen forever in the timeless structure of the block universe. Your search for meaning doesn't create meaning. It discovers meaning that eternally exists in your pattern. Your experience of love doesn't generate love. It accesses love that is permanently embedded in the structure of space-time. Your sense of purpose doesn't establish purpose. It reveals purpose that is already and forever part of reality. You are not living your life. You are your life, eternal and unchanging in the four-dimensional block universe. And every moment of that life, from birth to death, exists right now with equal reality, frozen forever in the timeless structure that is the true nature of existence. Time doesn't flow because time is not a river carrying you forward, but an ocean in which you are eternally immersed. The present moment isn't moving because there is no present moment, only the eternal now that contains all moments simultaneously. This is what it means to exist outside of time in the unchanging reality that underlies the illusion of temporal passage. This is what it means to be eternal patterns in the block universe, mistaking the structure for a story, the eternal for the temporal, the unchanging for the flowing. Memory isn't retrieving information from the past. It's accessing information that exists eternally in the block universe. The past you remember isn't gone. It exists right now with same reality as this moment. If your past self exists right now, then that past self is also remembering its own past, which also exists right now. There's infinite regression of simultaneously existing memories. Planning works the same way. You think you're imagining possible futures, but those futures already exist. Your planning isn't determining the future, it's discovering a future that has always existed. This eliminates distinction between knowledge and action, possibility and actuality. Everything that will happen is already actual. Your plans, hopes, fears, these are eternal features of space-time structure. You can't change the past, not because it's fixed by causality, but because it never stopped existing. You can't undo mistakes because they are permanent features of reality. The moment you're experiencing right now will exist forever. This exact consciousness configuration is eternal. You will eternally experience learning about the block universe for the first time. The confusion you're experiencing will exist forever in reality's eternal structure. But you'll also eternally exist in the moment before reading this, unaware of these ideas. Every stage of your understanding exists simultaneously and permanently. This creates paradox that should shatter your sense of learning. If all moments of your knowledge and ignorance exist eternally, then in what sense do you ever learn anything? If consciousness exists as static moments in the block universe, what creates the illusion that thoughts follow in sequence? The answer reveals something terrifying. Logical and temporal sequence are illusions created by information patterns in static conscious moments. The feeling that this thought follows from the previous isn't caused by temporal flow, it's embedded in the eternal structure of each conscious moment. This should make you question whether reasoning itself is real. Are you actually thinking through these ideas, or just experiencing unconnected conscious states that contain the illusion of logical development? The very process of understanding the block universe might itself be illusion. You're not reasoning your way to a conclusion, you're experiencing static conscious moments that contain the illusion of having reason. And here's the final twist. If consciousness consists of disconnected static moments, then there is no you that persists across time. The you that started reading this is not the same entity finishing it. You're not one person having many experiences. You're many separate conscious moments, each containing the illusion of being part of one person's experience. Death loses all meaning. You can't die because there's no continuous you to end. You're disconnected conscious moments scattered throughout the block universe. This conversation isn't communication between conscious beings. This is just information patterns creating illusion of communication across illusion of time. The words you're reading don't exist in present moment because there is no present moment. They exist eternally in timeless structure, frozen forever alongside your eternal experience, neither happening because happening requires time and time is illusion.